Hey, okay. I'm waiting for an upload, and I thought that I would talk about. It's weird how my brain works. I was actually thinking about some of the most weirdest things. Sesame Street, of all things. So years ago, um, and when I was looking up, it turns out that I guess that a lot of the original cast is gone. Go figure. The cast that I remember, they aren't there anymore. Oh well. Um, so the reason that I'm talking about, I was reading about this. The reason that I'm talking about Sesame Street, I was more of a, and I think I talked about this, I was more of a Mr. Rogers fan than I was about Sesame Street. I watch Sesame Street every once in a while. I mean, there were certain things that I remember. Like, I think I talked about Cab Calloway being on the show. There were some, I remember Grover and the restaurant scenes. I was actually watching the classic things on YouTube. Well, there was one special that they had, and it was like a big thing. And they were getting ready for it, and it was Maria and Louise getting married. And so what I'm reading here, and I had completely forgotten about it, and until all of a sudden I was thinking of some of my old some of the things that I remember, like Cab Calloway and especially Grover, Grover the waiter, and Super Grover. I guess they're bringing Super Grover back, which I don't know why they would get rid of him. That's weird. But anyway, yeah, Maria and Louise get married. That was in 1988. I could have sworn that it was later than that. Maybe I saw it as a um, rerun. Of course, I don't remember Sesame Street being a rerun so much. I mean, the little things in between were reruns. Like the watching the crayons being made and that sort of things. The little filler things in between. I guess they still show the crayons being made. That doesn't really change. So anyway, this was season 19. Um, it says that Maria and Louise had been friends and co-workers. Sonia Manzano, who plays Maria, became pregnant, and it was decided to have them fall in love, get married, and then have the character become pregnant with Gabriella. This is in episode 2404. They fall in love, got engaged in 2455. And then in episode 2485, they finally get married. Now, I did look on YouTube, and you can see the wedding. I mean, as a little kid, I remember watching it, and it's cute. It's very classic. Jim Henson. They do a lot of it's a musical, a very silly kid-like musical. You kind of get the idea, kind of what one is that? Muppets Take Manhattan. I don't remember when Muppets Take Manhattan was. What year was that? I must look. Let's see. Take Okay, so it was 1984. So 4 years later was this. And so you get kind of a flare of that. And let's see. Maria and David. I don't remember David. Who was David? That's why I don't remember David. He was on Sesame Street from 71 until 1989. Following Mr. Hooper's death in 1983, he inherited Hooper's store. I remember Gina. I couldn't stand Gina for the longest time. So pretty much, everyone's invited and everything, and they sing some songs, and it just goes through all the preparations and everything. It's just fun. It's a cute little it, yeah, like I said, I was watching it again, and as an adult, it seems a little corny, but as a kid, I remember it was the coolest thing. But you watch it as an adult, and you're like, oh, if I had kids, it would seem more interesting. But yeah, I remember watching it. But, like I said, 4 years earlier, Muppets Take Manhattan, and they have the whole routine, and with the Broadway and then Muppet with Kermit and Piggy, and you get, like I said, you get kind of a flare of that, and so I had no idea that she was actually pregnant. Now the other one, I want to talk about another one. Yes. So this particular one, now I watched it as a rerun. It was in 1983. And Big Bird in China. I even remember the commercials when they were showing it. Oh my goodness. So the Jim Henson Company, it was broadcast in 1983 on NBC. Big Bird and Barkley came to visit their good friend. I don't want to say that wrong. There are 2 musical tunes. We're Going to China, followed by Hu Hai Ni, and I hope I'm saying that right. The special was based on the popular television series Sesame Street, Big Bird, Barkley. This little girl travels with them, and I think you say it, little Yao Fu. I think that's how you say it. Could be wrong. I'll put it in the description, of course, and I apologize if I'm saying it wrong. And Barkley and Big Bird and this young girl travel through China to find Feng, just one Feng. It's Feng, Hung, the phoenix bird. And I am so sorry if I'm saying this wrong. The production was released on VHS from Random House. And I remember watching it on TV. They did have it on TV like several times. And like I said, I remember the commercials. But when they had it on VHS, It's on DVD. Yeah, when they had it on VHS, it says it was. Oh, it was re-released on VHS in 1996. But when it was on VHS, I I wanted to rent it all the time. You know, it was another one of those where I was like, "Can we watch that?" Because I loved Barkley. I absolutely loved Barkley. Barkley was so adorable. Oh, good heavens. Yeah, 2004. You know, 2004 through 2006, a lot of the DVD releases were just, I don't know. It was hit or miss. The voice of Telly Monster was Brian Mule. Martin P. Robinson redubbed Telly's lines for the DVD version. I hate when they do that. Oh my gosh. I have I have several DVDs. I actually got rid of American Tail because they screwed with some of the lines, and it's like this isn't American Tail. They didn't mess with the song because you always wait for the bad, you know, when he's singing and he reaches that really high note and it's really bad. Beneath the pale moonlight. You wait for that. Uh, the television special had a sequel known as Big Bird in Japan. It does? I must look for it and watch it. I didn't know that. Okay, in his memoir, Carol Spinney, or Spiney, I can't remember how he's the puppeteer who plays Big Bird and Oscar the Grouch, notes that he was inspired to pitch the special to KTW after visiting China on a tour with Bob Hope. The first trip was to film the Bob Hope on the Road to China, a 2-hour NBC special airing in 1979. The special featured Big Bird, along with the likes of Shields and Yarnell and Mikhail Baryshnikov, with musical numbers by Peaches and Herb and Crystal Gale. It was produced by James Lipton. Yeah, I didn't know about Big Bird in Japan. I am so looking that I loved this one. Because when you see the CTW, if you don't know, it's Children's Television Workshop. I didn't know that they changed it. I don't know what it is now, but you know, because every time you would see the Sesame Street is sponsored by Children's Television Workshop, and that was the whole PBS thing. Is it Yao? Yao Fu, little Yao Fu. Maybe that's what it is. Again, I'll put her name there, but Big Bird and Barkley and her, the little girl, and because I feel bad saying her name wrong, traveled through China to find the phoenix bird. I loved this special. But you know, that was one thing that I loved about um Jim Henson. He before he died, the year that he died, he did this thing, and I think I said it in the 4-part thing that I did like 3 years ago, I think at this point, where the year that he died, the Muppets took over Disneyland. I remember that. It was so much fun. Let's look at Big Bird in Japan. That was 1989. Wow, that was way far back, because this was 1983, and it's 19. Okay, so it's Sesame Workshop. Children's Television Workshop is now Sesame Workshop. Well, that makes sense. And it's also based on the popular. Talks about where Big Bird and Barkley visit some Japanese guests, count to 3 in Japanese, and teach Japanese words. Filmed in Kyoto and Tokyo in 1988. Okay. So basically, they get lost in Japan. It looks like they were on a guided, with a guided tour, and they get lost. Looks like that's what the point of it is, and so they're just trying to get back. I am so looking for this because I absolutely loved the first one. Oh my gosh, and I wonder where that little girl is now. Not so little anymore, because that was 83. Oh. Pat Morita's in it. He's the narrator. Well, he's in it. It looks like the tale of the as the narrator of the tale of the bamboo cutter. So they tell a story in it at one point. Attending an elementary school on the day Barkley and their mysterious helper are supposed to leave for Kyoto, Big Bird is treated to the tale of the bamboo cutter as acted out by some of the students. Oh, so he actually is there, Pat Morita. Oh, I'm still looking for this now. I didn't know about this. I knew about Big Bird in China. I loved Big Bird in China. Oh, I wish they did specials like this. I miss Jim Henson so much. I miss him. But I miss Mr. Rogers too. I'm glad that they're doing specials. They need to do specials on Jim Henson now. Honestly, if they I have the stamps. I bought the stamps last year for Mr. Rogers. If they did that for Jim Henson, I would buy them. I am so looking for Big Bird in Japan. I hope they have it on YouTube. Well, that just made my day. Oh, heavens. And it has Pat Morita. I didn't know. Oh. I love finding things that he's in. I'm such a big fan. Well, anyway, so yeah. I was mainly doing this for that the marriage of Maria and Louise, the characters in Sesame Street, because as a kid I loved it. It has the flair of, like I've said like 3 times now, it has the flair of the singing and dancing in Muppets Take Manhattan, because 4 years earlier that movie was out. But it's basically, they're getting ready for the wedding and everything, and then the wedding happens, and then you see the reception. It's just Sesame Street fun, and it's very cute, and it is on YouTube. I was able to find it again. It does seem a little corny, but again, it's very sweet. It really is. Big Bird in China. I will try and find it, and I will actually put it in the description. I will also try and find, because I think it's a 2-parter. So, but I will find the links and put them in the description for you, so you don't have to go searching all over creation for them. And if I find Big Bird in Japan, I will put it in the description as well. Oh, I'm excited. This is one I haven't seen. I didn't even know it existed. So, but anyway, those are some more Sesame Street, Jim Henson, for any of you that are fans of either one, or even Pat Morita. Just some fun things that you can enjoy with you and your kids.